Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm Martha. Just kidding. I'm Brittany Pacheco, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. That's right. Today, literally 10 years ago today, was the first was when that movie first hit theaters, and we're here to celebrate it. Maybe mock it a little bit, not too much though. But definitely talk about it because it was a very much, one of the most talked about superhero films of all time. And yeah, Brittany, what just to start off, like what memories do you have of that movie? Did you see it when it came out in the theaters?
I have very little memories of this movie because I did not go see it in theaters. At least I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I did not. Because at the time, not that I'm a DC fan right now per se, but definitely then I just didn't think DC could hold a candle to the MCU, right? The MCU was just putting out and cranking out these amazing movies. And to me, Batman, I love Batman. Don't get me wrong. I love like the Michael Keaton Batman, right? That's my Batman. And the fact that they had cast Ben Affleck as Batman, I don't like him as an actor. That was a really weird casting in my personal opinion. Henry Cavill very much looks the part of Clark Kent Superman, right? Great casting. I just wasn't thrilled about seeing this movie, and therefore I didn't. I couldn't even tell you when I actually ended up watching this movie. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was because of this podcast that I ended up having to watch the movie at some point.
I bet you saw it before because we started
I'm
the
pretty sure I
podcast.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. I'm pretty sure I watched it with my husband, who is, a Superman, Batman fan, and what have you. And yeah, I memean, cinematically, I think it's like a really cool looking movie, right? But just overall story and casting, it's just not my jam. Sorry. It's just not.
Yeah, well, I definitely saw it opening weekend, and I liked it for the most part. I didn't like the end of it. I didn't like the death of Superman. I think that's, for your second movie.
Spoilers, people. Spoilers.
Well, I think if people have seen this movie, trust me, people have seen this movie. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of how it ended, but I liked it kind of overall. And then I saw it again about a week or two later, and I really noticed a lot of the things I didn't like about it. So, but to me, it's not a movie I hate by any stretch. Like to me, I think there's parts of it that are very rewatchable. I think the last hour of the movie is pretty entertaining. Like once you get to the part where they actually fight, and then you get
Okay.
to the Doomsday and Wonder Woman comes in and all that stuff. I think that's pretty entertaining.
Mm.
To me, and I've seen this movie many times, many times. There's two different versions of the movie. We'll get to that in a second. To me, the first couple hours are just kind of a slog. It's kind of a tough to get through it thing. Whereas, you talk about the competition Marvel, while this was the second DCEU movie around the same time. I mean, literally months later, Captain America Civil War came out, and it was the 13th movie in the MCU compared to the second in the DCEU.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie is also like 2.5 hours, but it's very rewatchable.
Amazing.
It's really good. We're gonna do a 10-year anniversary on that in a few months.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but back to Batman v Superman. Let me hit you with the facts as I always do. BVS. Do you call it BVS, Brittany? You don't call it anything, do you? Do you call it Batman v Superman?
I call it Martha.
Martha. Okay.
Yes, I'm going to keep using that joke because it's the one that I have in my arsenal. That's it.
Why'd you say that name? Why'd you say that name? Ben Affleck saying
exactly.
that. Okay, so BVS facts. Let's get started here. Release date March 25th, 2016. Originally, it was supposed to go head to head with Captain America Civil War on May 6th, but Warner Brothers made a good decision to move it away from that. And honestly, I do think that's a good decision. I don't think it's like obviously Captain America Civil War made 1.1 billion. This movie did not make $1 billion. It made 874 million. A lot of money. But had they stayed on the same date, it would have hurt both movies. Not just, Captain America Civil War would have won the box office, I think. But it would have hurt both films. So I think it's good to space them out. Like that's why, like at Christmas time this year, when we have Doomsday coming out, and we also have Dune Part 3, I really wish they were on the same day. Now they're not both superhero projects, but they're kind of in that same lane, sci-fi action adventure kind of thing. So I think it's better when, you know, like Barbenheimer worked because you had Barbie and Oppenheimer. Those are not, you're bringing together two different audiences, really.
Polar opposites.
Yeah. Whereas Doomsday, as they're calling it, that's basically the same people that are going to see Avengers Doomsday are probably going to see Dune 3, and vice versa.
Yeah, which I would imagine you come dressed one way to see one movie first, and then you're going to take off that outfit and then go watch the other movie immediately thereafter.
No, I'm going to see Doomsday so many times. I won't have time to watch Dune 3.
Ah,
I'm not that excited about Dune 3 because I'm not a Dune head. Like I like the first movie more than the second movie. And yeah, I'm not into it. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's like
mhm.
a more adult kind of boring Star Wars. And that's fine, but
well,
I don't think it's for me. So
well, let us not digress from talking about
no, we'll get back to BV.
Batman versus Superman.
Yeah. So like I said, second movie of the DC Extended Universe, also known as the DCEU, box office 874 million, which at the time it had the biggest opening weekend for a superhero film. So that was it made like 430 million its first weekend, which is a chunk of change. Basically half the whole box office run was made the first weekend, and it's the second highest grossing film of the DCEU. Brittany, quick trivia. What was the highest grossing DCEU movie? It's the only one that made $1 billion.
Aquaman.
Yep. You got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jason Yum.
Momoa, who's also a Dune guy. He'll be back in Dune 3.
He is a Dune guy. Yeah. Yep.
Budget, between 250 million and 325 million. I've also read places where it was like maybe 425 million. So it's like we talked about before, the budget, these companies don't exactly open their books to everybody. So who knows what it costs to make. Obviously it costs a lot of money. Runtime. So here's where it gets tricky because there's two different versions of this movie. There's a theatrical cut, which is 2 hours and 32 minutes. There is a ultimate edition, which is 3 hours and 2 minutes. And by the way, the ultimate cut, even though it's 30 minutes more, I think it's a much better version of the movie. It definitely fleshes out a lot of the storylines, and it makes, like, if you don't like the theatrical cut, the ultimate edition is not going to make you like the movie, right? It's not going to flip you, right? However, you'll understand the movie better if you watch the ultimate edition. So I recommend watching that. If you've never seen this movie for some reason, I recommend the ultimate edition because at least it'll kind of make things make sense.
What Justin said, because I
Have you
I
seen
did
the ultimate
not.
edition? Do you know?
Oh, absolutely not.
Maybe you have though. If you watched it on TV, if you watched it ultimate on HBO Max, you maybe you
Do
did.
I look like I'm going to sit down and watch this movie
No.
on my own accord?
Well, I mean, if you didn't see it in the theater, you might have seen it on HBO Max or on streaming or something.
I honestly don't know how I watched it. I
Yeah.
just know I've watched it, but I couldn't tell you which version I have
Yeah.
watched.
I mean,
But
the ultimate edition
it wasn't
came out.
by my own doing.
Right. I mean, that edition was in the theaters at the very end of its run. So
Sure.
yeah.
If you say so.
Yeah, it was.
No, if you say so.
Directed by, of course, Zack Snyder. This was his fourth DC movie. He also did Watchmen, Man of Steel, which we celebrated the 10-year of Man of Steel a few years ago. And he did, of course, Zack Snyder's Justice League, aka the Snyder Cut, which I think is his best movie by far. And we've definitely talked about that when it came out 5 years ago. So if you're interested in our thoughts of the Snyder Cut, go look in the archives and we have it right there for you. The movie was written by Chris Terrio and David S. Goyer. Music by Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL. And the cast: Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Jesse Eisenberg, Diane Lane, Laurence Fishburne, Jeremy Irons, Holly Hunter, and Gal Gadot. Brittany, I know you talked about your kind of thoughts on the film, but like, what's something that stands out as like a highlight from this movie?
Other than my ongoing joke, it was unusual casting for Jesse Eisenberg to be Lex Luthor. That's not the typical sort of personality, let alone voice, that
Right.
I would have gone with. Jesse has a very distinctive voice, right? It's not it's his voice, obviously. It goes without saying. But you can identify him quick
Yeah.
with any movie that he's in. Like, for example, the movie Rio. It's an animation, but he voices a blue macaw, and it's his voice. There's no attempt for adaptation or to do a different accent or a different speech pattern. It is his voice through and through in every single movie that he does. And Now You See Me. I think the one movie I really do like Jesse Eisenberg in is the Now You See Me series, right? Those movies I think are pretty cool. They're pretty entertaining. But that's about it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
the casting of him as Lex Luthor, very unusual in my personal opinion. In comparison to the latest Superman that we just got, where you have Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, much better casting, much better personality, very fitting. The acting, I think, was more on par. I felt like Jesse was kind of trying too hard, and it just wasn't landing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about casting, because that's actually one of my highlights for the film was the casting. But I always said that, to me, the Jesse Eisenberg casting was probably the worst one that DC did. But you
Yeah,
know what? Over the years, I've gotten used to it, so it doesn't bother me like it used to. But
sure.
like, to me, like, the fact that Lex Luthor was like seemingly younger than Superman was weird to me.
Hmm.
The fact that also he's basically playing the same character he played in The Social Network. He's basically playing Mark Zuckerberg as an evil genius, which
Which I
maybe
have
Mark
not seen still. I
that
still
is a
haven't
very
seen.
yeah, Social
Yeah.
Network's a very good movie. There's actually a sequel coming out, I believe, this year.
Stop it.
No, there is, but Jesse
I can make a
Eisenberg's
joke,
not
but
he's
continue.
not in the sequel. He's not in the
Ah,
sequel, but,
okay.
yeah, so, but no, Eisenberg, like, I got used to it, so but it is
Hmm.
kinda strange because I know a lot of people think that he kind of comes off as, like, kind of like the Riddler or maybe like a Joker. It's like he kinda mixed all 3 of those characters together to create his
Yeah,
Lex Luthor.
sure.
He's like he's a younger, a tech bro billionaire kinda
Yeah,
deal, but he's
right.
awkward, and so, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm used to it, but it's not my favorite. However, I do think Ben Affleck was a great Batman, because for one reason only, like, there's many reasons, but for the main reason, he brings the physicality to Batman that we have not seen, really. Like, if you think of the
Hmm.
the actors who played Batman, they're not really physically imposing except for Ben Affleck. You know what I mean?
Let me think. Prior to him, it was George Clooney, Val Kilmer,
Michael Keaton,
Michael Keaton.
Christian Bale. Christian Bale in some ways, but,
Well,
like,
I don't really categorize, like, I mean, yes, that's obviously it's
yeah,
Batman, but I feel like the Nolan movies are just so far apart and so separate from the rest of,
yeah,
DC, and the Batman adaptations. It's just it's in its own category,
right.
honestly.
Yeah, I
But
just
yeah, we didn't get much out of Clooney, Val Kilmer. So. I would give maybe Val a little bit more credit than that. But Michael Keaton, I
right.
mean, Michael Keaton
Oh, yeah. I'm
can't
not
go wrong.
saying the other actors were bad. I think
No,
I've
no,
said
I'm
this
talking about the
before.
physicality of it, what
Right.
you're speaking
I'm
on.
just saying Ben Affleck is a big dude, and he got in tremendous shape to look like the guy ripped out of the comic book. Like, he's
I mean,
physically bigger than Superman in this movie, which is
good for him. Still don't
right.
care for him. Give me Henry Cavill all day.
I think he plays a pretty good Bruce Wayne, though. I really do. I like his Bruce Wayne.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah,
I will agree with you on that
yeah.
part. It's almost like, funny enough, we were watching The Batman over the weekend. I don't like Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, but I think he's a really good Batman.
Yeah,
It's just very strange how that
right.
works out
But
for some of these actors.
the thing about the Batman real quick is the fact that Robert Pattinson's Batman is playing a young Batman,
He's like
and
year two,
he
yeah,
hasn't gotten to the point where he's the playboy, you know
billionaire,
yeah, like,
philanthropist.
well,
Wait, that's
no,
someone else.
he's not Tony Stark, but,
I know.
he hasn't gotten to that persona yet, so I
Yeah.
say give him time for
Oh,
that,
well, yeah,
but
yeah, I know.
yeah,
It's apples and oranges right now, but either way, like,
yeah,
I will agree with you about Ben Affleck's performance as Bruce Wayne as opposed to him being Batman. I just don't care for it. But what I like Gal Gadot
Yeah. Yeah.
as Wonder Woman. I love Wonder Woman as a whole movie by itself, right? I didn't watch the sequel, won't, can't do it. I know people like hate on Gal for her performance because again, it's almost like how I feel about Jesse Eisenberg. It's the voice, it's like this cadence in her speech, and then people are just like, she's just not a good actress. And to each their own. I'm not gonna, say one or the other. I liked her as Wonder Woman. I thought she was great. I liked her as Diana Prince. I liked her as Wonder Woman.
Yeah, no, she's definitely like a breakout in this movie. She's not in the movie a ton, but
No.
obviously she plays a pivotal role, and of course her music's great when she comes in. Like it's Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL did a great job. But to me, like you mentioned before, like cinematically, this movie looks great. It really it really holds up.
Yeah.
It is kind of one of those things where if you want, like again, it's hard not to compare Captain America: Civil War to Batman v Superman because of everything. You have two heroes fighting each other and all that kind of stuff. Well, with those two movies, if you watch them today, BVS looks much better. Now, Captain America: Civil War is a better movie, much better movie, but the visuals are stronger to me, I think, for BVS.
I will respectfully disagree.
Okay. That's fine. I'm just saying, like, cinematically, it looks like there's a different look to it that Marvel has a certain look where some of the movies look better than other ones, but then some of them look
That is true.
very samey. You know what
But
I'm saying?
I will say Civil War holds up to this day. Like, to me, if we were to watch these events play out outside in our real world, I definitely would believe Civil War way over BVS. Like way.
Oh, the movie. I mean, yeah.
No, I'm talking like cinematically, like it, just how everything it looked more realistic than what you get out of BVS. That's just me.
Yeah, we agree to disagree on that. As far as like other casting things, I agree with you. Gal Gadot was great for this character, for this role. To me, the best actor in the movie is Jeremy Irons as Alfred.
Yes,
I think he's a great Alfred.
yes.
He really has some of the better lines in the movie. Trying to explain to Batman like Superman's not the enemy. Like he is the one guy who's like, "What are you doing? Like, what's going on here?" And I think he was great. He later would appear in obviously Justice League. He would appear in Flash. He came back a few times, but I thought he was really great. And of course, it would have been better if we could have seen Ben Affleck have his own Batman movie with Alfred, kind of continue that story, maybe kind of explain where that Batman is when we meet this Batman, because in this world, this is like, Superman is like in year 2 or a year and a half in, and Batman's in year 20. So you have this different, and we'll get to more of that here in a second. But talk about casting. We know the people that were cast in the movie, but like let's get some casting what ifs, because of course there were many other people were considered for these roles, and I think it's pretty interesting. So for Batman, Ryan Gosling, Joe Manganiello, who later would play Deathstroke in this film series, Richard Armitage, Max Martini, who I'm not familiar with, Matthew Good, and Josh Brolin were considered for the role. I remember Josh Brolin being mentioned, and then Jason Momoa actually auditioned for Batman. So, of those actors, Brittany, who you think of? Obviously you didn't like Affleck as much. Who would you prefer to have seen as Batman? To me, Gosling doesn't make sense because Gosling, like 10 years ago, he was like in his early or mid 30s.
That's
and
quite comical to me.
Right. And he's not going to be physically imposing compared to Henry Cavill. Whereas
no.
Joe Manganiello definitely could. I think Josh Brolin could be sort of on that level. Matthew Good, to me, I don't think could, but Matthew Good obviously did Watchmen. He was a big part of that movie.
Okay, I know who. Okay, so Matthew Good, he's an English actor. I know him from Downton Abbey, The Crown.
Right.
He was also in The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch, which is an amazing movie. Y'all need to go watch it. Do yourselves a favor, go watch it. I cannot see Matthew Good either being a Batman. Now, Max Martini, I had to look up his name because I've only seen him in a handful of things, and sadly,
Yeah.
I know him only from the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy.
Okay.
He played the bodyguard to the character Christian Grey. That was played by Jamie Dornan. So Max Martini, his resume is mostly being kind of like an ops, military, police, kind of guy. So if you want to talk physicality and being beef, I think he could have had a really good shot, maybe being a Batman.
Yeah.
Or this adaptation of Batman. I don't see him as a Bruce Wayne, if that makes sense, which is really tricky when you're casting, because obviously you have to have the one actor be both personas. But I do like Max Martini. He's been in Eli. He's been in, like I said, the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. He was in Captain Phillips. But yeah, he's kind of typecast, scapegoat. I don't know which word to use, but he's mostly a soldier, ops, military, police, bodyguard type person.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
The thing about Batman, though, it's always kind of a name actor. You know what I mean? It's always been someone who has a name.
Yeah.
I mean, even Michael Keaton, like, while he was not considered like an action star, he was a famous actor. He was a famous comedic actor. They've all been people that we've known. Whereas Superman is usually a newcomer, as someone who you don't know, and that's the difference between a character who wears a mask and a character who doesn't. So, like,
that's fair.
One of the main reasons, because if it's someone famous, Superman, you're like, I can't see anybody but the famous person. Like, it's weird. And I'm about to mention Superman from the past that could have played this character, and we'll get to that a little bit too. But yeah, it's just the difference between the mask and the not.
Yeah. Okay, so real quick, one more time, who were the possibilities? Once more: Ryan Gosling, Jason Momoa, Max Martini, Matthew Good,
Joe Manganiello.
No.
Richard Armitage.
Okay, Richard Armitage.
Yeah.
Richard Armitage briefly was in Captain America: The First Avenger. He was the secret Hydra agent that caused the bombing in the lab that Cap goes and chases after, and he bites down on the thing, and he dies. That's Richard Armitage, better known as Thorin Oakenshield in the Hobbit trilogy.
Yep. Right.
I think that would be my favorite cast for Bruce Wayne Batman, because he has that very polished, like, he's got the face, he's got that very polished look. Like, he can be both. He can absolutely be both. That would have actually, I would probably enjoy this movie more if it was Richard Armitage. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
again,
that,
he doesn't have the name. He doesn't have the name that, like, Ben Affleck.
No, but that could have put him on the map even more so.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Man, I'm disappointed now. Damn.
So for Lex Luthor, here are the people who are considered, and I say considered. I'm not sure how realistic any of these people were. No, these are not auditioned. These are people who are considered.
Okay.
Because I'm going to read the list, and you're going to go, "Wow, the biggest names in Hollywood." Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, Joaquin Phoenix, who later played the Joker, obviously in another series. Bryan Cranston and Adam Driver were considered for the role.
Oh God. Okay.
But
get
ahead. This, Adam Driver was also considered for the role of Dick Grayson / Nightwing, who is not in the movie. However, we do see a Robin suit that has graffiti that Joker spray paint on, and everyone obviously in the comic books, Jason Todd is the Robin that Joker kills. But in Zack Snyder's universe, it would have been Dick Grayson. So, which would have been Adam Driver, maybe that's why he wasn't cast, because the character isn't even alive in the movie. So obviously they would have made changes, but to me, that's just kind of strange. I don't really see that. I don't see any of these people really being considered, except for maybe Bryan Cranston. I think that would have made the most sense, because if he shaved his head, he would look like Lex Luthor in a lot of people's minds.
Well, he would just look like his character from Breaking Bad. I get it. The only one I think I like most, who I think could pull it off because he has played a really decent villain, is Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, he's not super old. He's not
Right.
like super young either. He's kind of like middle ground right here. Because obviously this Batman is like an older Batman, because like you said, he's like probably year 20 Batman, whereas
Yeah.
Superman's what, year two, give or
Right.
take. And I feel casting Leo would have been, out of that group, probably would have been the best pick in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. All of
I
these
can't
actors.
I can't see Tom Hanks. I absolutely cannot see that. I cannot
Yeah.
see, well, maybe Bryan Cranston. Yeah, that's fine. Name the others once more.
Joaquin Phoenix.
I'm glad didn't go that way, because I thought him as
Yeah.
Arthur Flack Joker was phenomenal. Y'all can hate on the sequel all you want, but that role was meant for Joaquin, and he killed it. Killed it.
Definitely. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about these actors, like, all of them would have been better than what we got, I believe.
Mhm.
But how realistic were any of these people gonna play the, like,
They wouldn't,
Leo
because it's
wasn't
such a
gonna.
huge name. They are
Yeah,
huge names
yeah.
for sure.
So now for Wonder Woman,
Mhm.
we had Olga Kurylenko, who would later play Taskmaster in
Ah, okay.
Thunderbolts, and she also obviously in Black Widow.
Okay.
We had Jamie Alexander, who was Lady Sith in the Thor films. And we had Elodie Young, who played Elektra in the Daredevil series on Netflix.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. She can actually do martial arts.
right.
She was great as Elektra in Daredevil.
But she's kind of a smallish
She's
woman.
petite.
Yeah,
Petite. And Amazonians are supposed to be a little bit fuller, a little bit more,
yeah,
Yeah. I like Jamie Alexander out of that group, because even in Marvel, she's kind of got that same look, right? She's a warrior. She, to me, embodies more or less what Wonder Woman
yeah,
is, right? And she's fierce. She can hold her own.
right.
I like Jamie Alexander the best out of that group.
I agree with you. I
Mhm,
think she definitely looks like she could be Wonder Woman. I mean, I think that's
mhm,
pretty safe to say.
mhm.
Going to the chat real quick. We appreciate the comments here by King Chess Club. One of the comments here is saying about Leo, how he was close to playing Spider-Man. That's true. However, that was Spider-Man back in like 2000, like
Tobey Maguire,
before
Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire. So like
Yeah.
think about now, fast forward 15, 16 years in the future, like that Leo, late 30s, early 40s Leo is probably not interested in playing
Yeah.
a character in Batman v Superman. But who knows? I think he would have been great, but
I think
not
that
very
Lex
likely.
Luthor would have been a really good role for him.
Yeah.
Less physicality, was more
Right.
smarts, right? And being diabolical. And I say that obviously for the performance that we got of Leo in Django Unchained. That
Mhm.
was hard to watch, but damn it, Leo did a great job as villain.
And then, like, finally, Carla Gugino, who is actually the voice of the AI in the
Mhm.
movie, in the Superman ship, she was gonna play Catwoman. However, that character was not actually cast. And then the Joker and the Riddler were also supposed to appear in the film, but were ultimately cut from the final script. So
Mm.
I wonder what that could have been if you had those those three characters in addition to everything else that's in this
I'm
movie, because this movie
I'm
is overstuffed.
Yeah, I'm glad they decided not to cast like every freaking
Yeah,
villain character,
right.
because it would have become just too much. And I say that it's kind of funny, because with Civil War, it's basically an Avengers movie, right? It's like
Yeah,
the unofficial Avengers 2.5 movie,
right,
right? But they had already been established.
right.
The team
Yeah.
had already been established.
Mhm.
So you're not introducing these characters and then trying to find a story to make them fit and make it make sense, right? That's the difference between the Civil War movie and then this movie, is you're bringing in all these extra characters and trying to make it make sense. And I think that just would have been way too much.
No, no doubt it would have been. I mean, this movie is a lot. It's really that's the thing about this film is this is a very important film because first off, it's the first time that Batman and Superman meet each other on the silver screen. The first time they're in the film together is this movie. It's also the first time that Wonder Woman is in a cinematic film. It's the first time that Aquaman, who, Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg are briefly in the
Mhm.
movie, but they're also in the movie.
Yes.
So you think about you're basically creating the Justice League.
Yeah.
Then you're adding all these villains. Like this movie was already too much. Like it was already fully
100%.
stuffed. This movie tries to, like I used to always say, this movie like took all these storylines, put it in a blender, and made a smoothie that no one wants to drink because it's like three different storylines from the comics that I can think of. The Dark Knight Returns, the older Batman,
Mhm.
returning to take down Superman. You got the death
Yeah.
of Superman, which is a different story where Superman is killed by Doomsday, this beloved character after being in the comics for, at that point, almost 60 years,
Mhm.
succumbs to this creature from his home world who kills him, right? And then
Mhm.
finally, Injustice Gods Among Us, which is a storyline where Lois Lane is killed by the Joker and Superman basically snaps and takes over the world. And he rules the world with like an iron fist with Wonder Woman by his side. So that's like, to me, those three storylines are all cool in their own separate ways.
Yeah.
But when you mix them together, they don't fit.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what this movie is. There's a lot of really cool stuff, but there's a lot of just a lot. There's just so much
Yeah.
this movie. And to me, if you added those extra villains, it would have been crazy. I mean, it would have had to be like a 5-hour movie, and that's not going to be in theaters, So,
Oh God. We got to put a pin in something that you
Yeah.
mentioned about just tell me later, like, okay, a lot's going on in the movie Batman, Superman, and
Yeah.
that'll be my reminder. Who were the other actors considered for Batman?
I mentioned Batman.
Did
Josh
you?
Brolin. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did.
I didn't mention Superman because this is the second film. He's
That's what I
already
meant to say.
was-
Superman.
yeah.
Sorry.
No. No. So, okay. So, let's pivot to some Batman versus Superman history, because this movie is very interesting because obviously whenever you put those two names in the title, it's like, wow, that should be the biggest movie of all time. That should be one of the biggest blockbusters of all time. And obviously it made a lot of money for its time, but it was not the massive hit that it should have been. Right.
Okay.
And it was not an original idea. It was an idea that had been around for a while. The idea was actually born in 2001 when Andrew Kevin Walker, who wrote the movie Seven, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen Seven, Brad Pitt, he pitched the idea to Warner Brothers. And originally, Warner Brothers wanted to pair Johnny Depp as Batman and Josh Hartnett as Superman. That was the original idea, right?
Josh, really?
Yeah, I'd heard that. I'd never heard about Johnny Depp maybe being Batman. To me,
That's kind of crazy.
That kind of breaks my brain. I just don't see him as Batman.
That kind of breaks my brain too. And I love Johnny Depp. Love the man.
I mean, you talk about the physicality, like Affleck's on one end.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp's on the other end and not on the good end of being Batman. Yeah. He would have been the slightest, smallest Batman of all. That would not have worked at all. No doubt about that. So the movie, obviously that movie didn't get made. A few years later, they tried to revive it with a new pairing. This time it was going to be Colin Farrell as Batman and Jude Law as Superman, which to me, I cannot see Jude Law as Superman. Like Colin Farrell, I can absolutely see him as Batman, no doubt. At that time,
that's hilarious to me because all I think about is I want to hear the Irish versus the English. I want them to do this in their actual accents. Like I think that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
No, I can't. I can't see that either. I could see Jude Law because I guess because he is English, seeing him as a Bruce Wayne. You know, I definitely could not see him necessarily being a Batman. I don't even know if I can see Colin Farrell being a Batman, truth be told.
Yeah, I can.
But
I could see that.
He's got more of a fighting spirit in him, I feel. So yes, it's possible. But God, could you imagine Robert Downey being Batman?
No, I mean he wasn't mentioned, but that would be
I know, crazy. But
yeah,
it's basically him as Tony Stark, but just in a different universe.
Oh, I mean, he could definitely play it. I think you could definitely find an RDJ Batman. Yeah.
I need to see that alternate universe.
but he's always been kind of associated with Marvel. Like even back in the day, like
Oh, I know.
in the
I
original
know.
Fantastic Four movies that where Chris Evans plays Johnny Storm, Robert Downey Jr. was rumored to play Doctor Doom back then,
Oh,
and
love
then it
that.
went to Julian McMahon,
Mm,
at that time. But like
okay.
RDJ he might have never been Tony Stark if not for how circumstances kind of played out.
Yikes.
So
Well,
yeah,
I'm glad it played out the way that it
yeah,
did, but that would be a fun
right.
alternative in a completely different universe. Anyway,
Yeah. So
continue.
the Colin Farrell Jude Law movie did not happen, obviously.
Okay.
However, I've read the story and I've heard it. There's like an audio podcast that kind of does the retelling of this movie and or of the script of this movie, and
Mhm.
it's pretty. I mean, the storyline's pretty good. It's a lot different than what we get in this movie. It's
Okay.
yeah,
Alright.
there's some similarities, but it's I think it might have worked, but it definitely was like a one off kind of movie. Like whereas like
Mm.
that's also the problem with this film where I feel like this movie, you're in a cinematic universe, but it's kind of a movie where like there's not a lot of future because you're getting rid of a lot of characters and you're making big decisions that kind of
Okay.
undercut the chances of you having a like an MCU kind of run.
Okay. You said big changes or big chances, whatever you just said,
Right.
and that's what triggered me to the thing I pinned in my brain. In what universe has it ever been known that a river separates Metropolis
Oh
and
yeah.
Gotham City? What on
Yeah.
earth?
No, we're you know what, we're gonna get to that very shortly. I have a whole thing on
Okay.
that. We'll get to that
Okay,
very
thank you.
shortly.
I
Yeah.
have to talk about that.
So the final thing I want to talk about with the title is the
Okay.
fact that this movie, it's interesting because I remember when this movie came out and I saw a lot of chatter online. People were kind of like, okay, where does this movie rank in your Batman movies? Or where does this rank in your Superman movies? And I thought, I was like, this movie isn't a Batman movie. It's more of a Batman movie than a Superman movie, but it's certainly not a Batman movie. And it's certainly not a Superman movie. To me, it's like a team up. It's almost like a prelude to the Justice League. And I thought that forever. And then doing some research and like lo and behold, I was actually right about that because even Henry Cavill said at the time, he said, "Look, I wouldn't call this a Superman movie or a Superman sequel. This is a Batman versus Superman. It's a separate thing altogether. We're introducing a Batman character and expanding the universe, which was kicked off in Man of Steel." And originally, this movie had many different titles, and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice was not the first one. There's a couple other ones. I want to run these by you, Brittany.
Oh, Lord.
The
Okay.
original title, one of them was Justice League: Foundations. So Justice League Foundations was one of them.
Okay.
The next one was Justice League Rising,
Mm,
and the final one was Son of Sun, so SON
yeah.
SUN,
Yeah, yeah.
and Night of Night.
Okay.
For SEO reasons, they like it had to be called Batman v Superman or Batman versus Superman or Batman and Superman or like you've
Oh,
got to put Batman and Superman in the title. So like
that last one.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it should have just been called Batman versus Superman. That would have been a better title. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate Justice League Rising,
Mhm.
although it makes me think of the really horrible movie Jupiter Ascending, because,
Well, yeah, like Rising is like a right, the Dark Knight Rises, what is it? The Rise of
it
Skywalker. Like a lot of these franchises have the
ugh,
same idea. They use the same wording. And was
the
it?
fact that you brought
Wasn't
Star
there?
Wars into this.
I haven't seen these movies, but Pacific Rim wasn't the second one something like Pacific Rim, something Rising or
Uprising?
up? Yeah, something like that. Like,
I've only seen
um,
the first one, I haven't seen the second one.
yeah, I've never seen those films, but I know like they had a title that was very similar to this stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, anyway, those are the original titles. I think Batman v Superman is fine. I think Batman versus Superman might have been better, just that you know VS period, but
Mhm.
that's okay. Um, so like I was saying before, this movie, there's so much to this movie, and with that, there's some good, there's some bad, there's just so much stuff. So we're gonna kind of try
Mhm.
to hit on like some of our favorite things and some of our not so favorite things, and we've talked about a little bit of that, but I want to jump in, Brittany. One of the things you said,
Mhm.
and so like one of my favorite, I think honestly the best scene of the movie is one of the first scenes of the movie where we see we get the title card. Mankind is introduced to the Superman. And
Mhm.
we see the end of Man of Steel, but we see it from Bruce Wayne's point of view because he
Right.
is in Metropolis.
Yeah.
He's trying to get to this office building that he owns, trying to, like, I guess,
Mhm.
tell these people to leave their office, which why didn't they leave the office before that? Like, these buildings are falling around them. Like, I mean,
People
come
are
on.
stupid.
Yeah. Are they afraid they're going to get fired? Because guess what? You're going to die. Like, the whole building is going to explode. Anyway, we
Mhm.
see him, like, trying to make it through this, like, basically war zone from this city that's being torn apart by these two Kryptonians who are battling.
Yeah.
And we see, Batman, he saves this little girl and he says, we're going to find your mom. Where's your mom? And the little girl points up at the building that's like half there.
Mhm.
And then Batman hugs her, or, Bruce Wayne hugs her and he looks up in the sky and he's like, he has this look on his face as he's seeing Superman and Zod fight. And it's like, that was a great scene. To me, that's the best scene in the movie, right?
Okay.
But then the very next thing we see, this is where, to me, I always had a problem with this, and to me, it never gets better, is the fact that we get the title thing. It says 18 months later, right? So it's been a year and a half since the end of Man of Steel. And we also, like you mentioned before, we find out that Gotham City and Metropolis are like Oakland and San Francisco. They're across the bay from each other. They're super close. Now, I know there's some comic book precedent where this is the case. In fact, it might be the case in James Gunn's universe also, because if you remember from Superman, there's a part in Superman where they're evacuating Metropolis. And there's a street sign that says, like, Gotham next right. So maybe Gotham is, in fact, I think it is. I think, like, Metropolis is basically in Delaware and Gotham is basically in New Jersey. So they're pretty close together.
Right.
Which I don't like that. But I especially don't like that in this movie, because in this movie, despite the fact that Batman's been Batman for 20 years, it seems like no one in the movie has ever heard of Batman.
Yeah.
It also seems like no one in Metropolis has ever heard of Batman. And like Clark Kent, who is a reporter for the Daily Planet, the biggest newspaper in the world, he doesn't know who Bruce Wayne is. And it's like, how would he not know who one of the richest men in the world, much less one of the richest men in the area, is? To me, that's the part that I just can't get past, because how would Batman and Superman not cross paths being that close together for a year and a half? I just don't believe it. Take it away.
Yeah. I think you've pretty much summed up.
Yeah.
And then some, because I just, in all the years that I spent watching these movies, from DC, and then this idea is introduced showing how close these two heroes have, I won't say always have been, but yes, to your point, if Batman's been Batman for the last 20 something years, and the river separates these two cities, how is it that your neighboring city wouldn't have picked up on these stories and reported on, the happenings of Gotham City, and such, right? It doesn't really, I'm not saying like Metropolis has to always worry about what's going on in Gotham and vice versa, but like, it doesn't make sense, because here in Texas, as large as our state is, we hear about the crap that goes on in Dallas or along the border and what have you.
Right.
Granted, again, we're still in the same state, but you could fit a lot of states into our one state. Okay. Right. So yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. And I just thought it was always silly. That the two takeaways from this movie that I thought were just ridiculous was the locations or the proximity of one another, Gotham and Metropolis, and then the whole Martha thing. Like, just really?
Yeah.
Martha?
Well, yeah, we'll get to Martha, but like, to me, like, the proximity, of course, to me, I'll explain like this. Imagine if Oakland, California had a mass vigilante who was a crime fighter for 20 years, right?
Right.
Then all of a sudden, a man falls from the sky. He can fly, wears a red cape, and lives in San Francisco. Do you mean to tell me they wouldn't cross paths at some point? Like,
you have a raider and then you have a giant.
Right. Well, the Raiders now are in Las Vegas, but
work with me here.
Yeah, gotcha. And the Giants, that's their baseball team, not the 49ers of the NFL team.
Potato, tomato. Okay, just deal with it.
But to me, that always kind of bothered me. But then, but also the time period too. Like to me, like 18 months, that's all the time Superman has been in this world. And in this
Mhm.
movie, the people are like, first of all, he's kind of a bummed out Superman. Like that's part of the problem is the fact that to me, Henry Cavill's version of Superman never really feels like Superman until he comes back from the death in the Snyder cut. Like,
Agreed.
so to me, it's like you have this guy who's like apprehensive. It seems to be like because the way they treat it, like he's a god, right? He's this like,
Mhm.
he saves these people and like in these montages, but it's like, it's obviously very slow motiony and he has like almost no expression on his face. And
Yeah.
he's very much coming off like a god to these people. Whereas like Superman should be this guy who saves people because he cares about people and he's like warm and friendly and people like are not afraid of him. Whereas like
Mhm.
this Superman is the opposite, where I don't not that Henry Cavill Superman is evil, but he's very cold. And
Yeah.
to me, that's a problem because whenever you do like the death of Superman storyline, which they do in this movie, it's like you're killing a Superman that's only been Superman for 18 months and is not a beloved Superman, right? Not only
Mhm.
the I'm not talking about just the actor, but I'm talking about the character in the world, because in the world, in the storyline, Lex Luthor has kind of framed Superman to look bad so that Batman will go after him and try to kill him. That's the
Right.
plot line for the movie, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the world is not the entire world, but a good portion of people has turned against Superman.
Mhm.
Well, like to me, like what makes the death of Superman storyline in the comic books so important is the fact he's so beloved. Like
Yeah.
to see him die hurts. I mean, think about like with the MCU with Iron Man. Imagine if Iron Man died in the Incredible Hulk. No one would care. I
No,
really.
they really
But then,
wouldn't.
like, think about it. But Iron Man, then 10 years later, or like 11 years later in Endgame, when he dies, that's massive. I mean, I
Massive.
watched that movie a few weeks ago. I cried. Like
Wow.
it'll always get me. Like whereas
Cheeseburger
with Superman, when he dies in this movie, I feel nothing. And Superman is my
mhm,
favorite superhero
of all
ever.
time.
Has always been, probably will always be.
Yeah.
But because he's only Superman for a short period of time, and because he's not a beloved character, it just doesn't. That part doesn't work. Like
Mhm.
that's the stuff about this movie that like a lot of it visually looks cool,
Yeah.
but it just doesn't work out story wise to where I care. And I think that's the problem with this film. This film did huge numbers opening weekend, but then it had a historic drop off. I think it dropped like 81% from the opening weekend to the second weekend. That's massive.
Yeah, it's
Even
pretty
for comic book movies. Comic book movies make a lot of money the first weekend. We all know this. We've been balling this stuff for like 10 years now. But to drop off that much means that people went to see the movie and they said, "Yeah, this is not for me." Don't and told people, "Yeah, you probably won't like this, so don't go see it."
yeah.
Like, and those people didn't go see it again. Now I did go see it again, but I didn't see it a third time. So
Mhm.
now I've seen it, on HBO Max many times, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other story. So Brittany, anything? I guess let's go back positive. Anything else you remember about the movie that you liked about the film?
No.
No. Okay, I've got a couple things I want to.
Honestly, just because I have not watched this movie as often as
Yeah.
you have. I will say for the sake of this podcast, I did watch Movie in Minutes. Shout out to them for putting together these quick reviews on movies that I don't particularly care for. So, you get the gist of the storyline and what have you. I don't have much to say other than I think casting, with the exception of maybe one or two, I think casting was pretty solid, right? You
Yeah.
have some
Yeah.
really great actors who are doing their jobs, right? They're acting and they're portraying these
Yeah.
characters that have been around for quite some time. It's just unfortunate, in my opinion, that the story just didn't hold up.
Yeah.
I don't know, but for me, this movie is a pass.
Well, let
I'm
me
good.
let me run through a couple like
Okay.
positives, and then because there's still some really big things that I did not like, and I know you didn't like also. So we're gonna get to those in a second. But
Okay.
I want to try to be balanced because I don't, like I said, like this movie, like there's a lot of good also. Like I always say this, but like every time I watch this movie and I've seen it, I don't know how. Let's say I've seen it 25 times. Maybe I've seen it less. I've probably seen it 20 times, like conservatively, right? Every time I start to watch this movie, I hope it's better. I want it to be better because I love this stuff. I really do. And like to me, like it just seems like it should have been better. Not
Okay,
that
but
it was the worst.
you
Yeah.
do realize the movie is what it is. It's your
Yeah, but
perspective
no.
that has to change.
Right. But see, I have hope. I'm a Superman fan. I'm a fan of these characters. Like I'm a fan of this kind of world, this genre. So like
Okay.
I every time I go to these movies, like I don't understand people who go to these movies and like hate watch them. I don't understand hate watching something. If I don't like
Oh,
something, I'm not gonna watch
I'm
it.
doing that right now with Marshalls. I'm hate watching the show.
I when I go to something, when I pay money, like I want to enjoy it. Like I want to I give it every chance to make me happy, right? Like that's what I'm there for, is to enjoy myself, to find something, see something I've never seen before, whatever, what it may be. But like this movie, every time I feel like it should have been better. And I think that's kind of the feeling a lot of people have about it. Not that it and again, it's by far not the worst superhero movie, not the worst DCE movie. It's I mean, it's like I said, it's pretty rewatchable, some of it, but like I also understand the people who don't like it. So, but as far as like other positives, I like the Batmobile in this movie. It's kind of it's more of a lightweight car. It's kind of like almost like a modified, like a jacked up like F1 kind of car. Um, Now the one problem about this movie is you don't really get a good glimpse of the car as much as you do in Justice League or in Zack Snyder's Justice League. You get a better shot of it in that movie, but I do like it. I mean, I'm a fan of the Batmobile kind of regardless. I can't think of one I really didn't like, but I do like the fact that this one is different. And we've had so many different ones. So I think that's also something where when you have this many iterations of the character to kind of continue to kind of create something cool that's kudos to Zack Snyder and his team because I think the car is cool. The bat plane or the bat wing, I think they call it the bat plane. To me, that is not as cool because it's not, they don't show it much. I mean, it's in use quite a bit, but it just doesn't seem like there's much to it. Whereas like obviously Michael Keaton's Batwing was iconic. The one that we saw in The Flash, which was an updated version, which was really cool too. This bat plane is not as good, but that's okay. I think the Superman statue in the Heroes Park is really cool. I think the fact that they have this giant statue that Doomsday then like destroys whenever he sees it, which is very on brand because he hates Superman. I think the fact they have a statue that's dedicated to Superman is really cool, given what happened at the end of Man of Steel. The fight. I mean, let's get to it. Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
I think the fight is pretty well done.
Yeah.
Now the reason why they're fighting is pretty dumb, but like the actual fight itself is very entertaining. I've watched it many, many times. I've gone to YouTube and watched some of those parts of that fight. I think that's pretty cool. The Martha rescue, not the Martha moment, but the Martha rescue, the warehouse fight with Batman.
Yeah.
Is straight out of like the Arkham Asylum video games, the Arkham Knight kind of stuff. I mean, we do see a very brutal Batman in this movie, but it's a very cool fight scene. I think a lot of people think it's like the best Batman scene that's ever been put on film. I wouldn't go that far because I like character stuff more than I like the action stuff, but I do enjoy that fight. Wonder Woman, when she saves Batman, when she unveils herself as Wonder Woman and stops, Doomsday from killing Batman, and her music hits. Her music's so great, and I think that's a cool moment when we see her show up. And then, of course, when we get the Trinity, when we get to see Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman stand together for the first time on screen, that's a moment. My only thing I wish I could take back, or I kind of regret, is seeing that Batman, when the three are together, he's holding like a grenade rifle, and like obviously, if you know Batman, the character's pretty anti-gun, even though in this movie he's using a lot of guns. Throughout the movie, yeah. So there's that. I think Wonder Woman fighting Doomsday is awesome. I mean, honestly, if they would have given Wonder Woman the kryptonite spear instead of Superman taking it himself, she would have just killed Doomsday. It would have been game over. And then Superman doesn't die. Like, obviously, that wouldn't have been maybe as good of a movie for what their plans were, but as far
Mhm.
as trying to win the game. She could have won if she had the spear. Um, I do think that Superman's sacrifice is very well done. He tells
Yeah.
Lois, "This is my world, you're my world." And the music is really great in this moment. He flies in with a spear and, of course um, his chest is caved in by Doomsday while he's like stabbing the monster and killing the monster. I mean, it's really well done. It's not super smart, but
Mhm.
it is very well done. So
Yeah.
those are some of my other likes. So if you're watching us live right now in the chat, let us know what you think about the movie. Do you have something that we didn't mention that really you really enjoy? Please drop it in the chat. We'll try to talk about it if we get a chance.
Yep.
Um, so Brittany, now let's get to the Martha of it all, because obviously that's probably the most famous thing about Batman v Superman is the moment where obviously we learn in the movie, not that some of us probably knew this, the fact that Batman's mother's name was Martha Wayne, and the fact that Superman's Earth mother is Martha Kent. Martha Kent has been kidnapped by Lex Luthor. Superman's trying to save her. Um, but Batman's trying to kill Superman, and Batman is about to kill Superman. He's got the kryptonite spear to his face, and Superman to basically, before he is killed by Batman, his last plea is to say, you're letting
Save
him kill.
Martha.
Oh, no, he's saying you're letting him kill Martha, and then Batman's like,
Mhm.
"What does that mean? Why'd you say
Yeah.
that name?" And he
Mhm.
says, "Find him, save Martha." And to me, this is just like, why wouldn't he just say, "Save my mom"? Like, why would he say his mom's name? That's
Exactly.
yeah. So I'll
Yeah.
let you take it away.
No, I mean, there's really not much more to elaborate other than it's it's really it's really peculiar because yes, even though Superman's parents are not biologically his, he still always refers to them as like mom and pa, right? Like they're mom and dad, right? We're not even gonna talk about the Kevin Costner thing. But um it is so strange to refer to the one that you call your mom by their government name.
Right.
And what would be the chances in that moment of time that your I won't say nemesis, but the person that's fighting you, right, thinks that you're the threat, that his mother would also be named Martha. And you just so happen to say, save Martha. It's
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
What? I'll never
Well, it's
forget that. I'll never forget
yeah.
watching that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what fresh hell is this? Like
So when I saw the
crazy.
movie the first time, that got a not
A
a
laugh.
negative reaction in the theater, but people are like kind of taken aback by it. The second time I saw it, it becomes such a big thing that people like laughed. Like I think people were waiting for that moment
Uh-huh.
because they'd heard about it or maybe they'd already gone to see the movie. And to me, like, that's not what you want in this movie. Like, there is no moment in Captain America Civil War when Iron Man and Captain America are fighting when it's funny.
No.
Even like there's no Marvel's known for their quips and stuff, but like there's nothing about and like obviously the Batman saying Martha or the Superman saying Martha thing is unintentionally funny. And that's not what you want. And like the thing is like I understand the idea that the writers and Zack Snyder had, and I think it was a good idea, but I think he should have said save my mother. And then Batman thinks about back to when his mother was killed in front of him, and he thinks about this guy has a mother just like I do, and like
Right. The premise of I
right,
won't let someone else lose their mom the way
right,
that I lost mine.
right,
Yes.
right. And
Yes.
to me, like it just like so Batman, his whole thing is like, hey, if there's a 1% chance that Superman is our enemy and could kill the world, we have to take it as an absolute certainty that he's a threat. So we have to take him out, or he has to
Mhm.
personally take him out, right?
Mhm.
But by simply saying the name of his mother, Batman just does this about face that's insane. Like it's like you have like whiplash from going from he's about to kill this guy to now he's like acting like his best friend, and then he
I
goes like
know.
he's like, "No, Martha will not die tonight. I'm gonna go save your mom." And to me, like the fact that Superman lets this guy, this lunatic who just about killed him with a kryptonite spear,
Yeah.
the fact that Superman lets this guy go save his mother, trust this crazy man. Like, I've always said this, but like, if this movie were real,
Yeah.
after the spear is away, Superman should have snapped Batman's neck and gone to save his mom. Like, just kill this guy. No, I'm serious. Like,
No, you're not wrong. That's why I
because
laugh.
it's like, how do you go from this guy? He's about to kill you, and then
Mhm.
and then, Lois Lane comes in. We haven't mentioned Amy Adams, but she comes in. She's like, "That's his mother's name." She shows up at the right time
It's so
to say that.
bizarre. It's just
Yeah, it's
so like I feel like the writers I wonder if in that scene this was just like an improv. Like they decided to change it on the fly and we're just like, let's test this out and see if this gets a reaction, you know?
no.
You know
I
what I
think
mean?
I think they thought like, you know what? I bet not many people have realized that our two biggest characters, DC's two
Mm,
biggest characters, Batman and Superman, their
have
mothers
the
have the same name.
same
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
And I think that a lot of it is because like when these characters were created in the 1930s and 1940s,
Very
Martha,
common name.
yeah, it was a common name, right?
Very
And
common.
so Martha maybe not. I mean, there's still plenty of Marthas out there, I'm sure, but like
Oh yeah.
it's not as not as common now as it probably was back then. So
Hmm.
that's just kind of like happenstance. But I think they thought, oh, I bet people haven't thought about that. And I'll be honest, as a fan of this, I knew both the mothers' names. I've thought about the mothers' names before, but I never connected it because
Mm,
I never did. Like, and so when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. But then like the execution of it's so poor because he could have just said, like, "Look, save my mother," and then he's like then Batman's like, "Oh my god," and he's like, taking it back, he's like, "What's your mother's name?" And he said, "My name Martha Kent," and then the Martha part then it also dawns on him like, "Oh my god," like, not only does this guy have a mother that he cares about, but his mom's name is the same. Like, you could have done the same thing, but it could have been done better, I think.
mhm.
I think just a little tweak there, and that not only does that not become a joke, it becomes kind of a moment where it's like, "Oh, wow, this is like there's more to this than just the fact the names match up." So,
Mhm.
um yeah, that's the Martha of it all. So, um, I think we got that all out of the
Yeah,
way.
I think so.
I have to say that, earlier I mentioned my favorite scene of the movie or the best scene was when Bruce Wayne sees what's happening in at the end of Man of Steel. To me, the worst scene of the movie is the whole Africa subplot.
Yeah, that was
'Cause
bizarre.
so if you watch only the theatrical cut, you don't even get to see the setup because they take away big chunks of the storyline.
Mhm.
Because the setup is there's this like terrorist warlord who Lois is trying to interview. And I mean, to me, this storyline is just so weird for so many different ways, and really so bad in so many different ways because like, she's there, and then all of a sudden she has this photographer she's never met. Turns out the photographer's name is Jimmy Olsen. But it turns out he's not actually a photographer, he's a CIA agent who then they kill right there in front of her. So, like Jimmy Olsen is not the guy that from the comic books, he's not the character that we all know, and he's not even a character that Lois knows, but then you burn that character for nothing. Like, that's why I always wondered, like, this universe, like, how much further could this universe have gone when you're just killing these characters? I
Marking
mean,
everyone left
obviously,
and right.
like,
Yeah.
look at how big Jimmy Olsen was in Superman 2025, like, a major character. Jimmy Olsen's gonna get his own HBO Max series, I think, next year.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so, like, I mean, he's a major character in the Superman family of characters. Like, I
Mhm.
just to me, to just kill him off like that, and for him to have no attachment to Superman or Lois, just I mean, it's just such a waste. But
Yeah.
that Africa scene is also, you know, weird because, like, the warlord has Lois. Superman comes to save her, and, like, he just kills the guy. Which, I mean,
Mhm.
I get it because the guy's about to kill Lois, but, like, he just, like, pancakes the guy through, like, 2 walls. He flies right into him. And, you think about, like, the previous movie, like, where he killed Zod and he's distraught over the fact that he killed somebody. And in this movie, he has no problem just killing people. Like, it's just a different take on Superman that I don't enjoy it. Like, I don't like
Yeah.
there. I mean, you can argue there is a time to kill, but I feel like with these characters, it's hard to, I don't know. Like to me, like once you do that, it's like, is every character the Punisher? Like, cause like these characters are not the Punisher, like
Yeah.
I don't know. Just didn't work
Yeah.
for me. And then, like I said, the whole subplot where in Africa, in the theatrical cut, they don't show the fact that so Lex Luthor has his like henchmen there and they kill everybody in this village, right? They shoot them all, right? Well, in the theatrical cut, or in the Ultimate Edition, they show the fact that after they shoot these people, they take flamethrowers and burn them to make it look like Superman uses heat vision. Whereas in the
Mhm.
theatrical cut, you think like, okay, all these people were shot. Why are they blaming Superman? Because like, did Superman have an
Right.
AK-47? Like he was just,
Right. Right. Right.
he
Right.
doesn't, he doesn't need to do that. So yeah, just
Yeah.
it's not great.
It's not
It's not
good.
great. Not great. I've talked about this already, but like killing Superman in the second film to me, like always was like, what are you doing? Like
Mhm.
I just disagree with it. And you're killing him
Mhm.
so soon before he even is Superman to a lot of people, me mostly, but I just think that's kind of a waste. And then we get to
Yeah.
like my least favorite part of this movie, and this is something that like has always bothered me, is Superman. We have a scene where Lex Luthor tells Superman, like, I know who you are. He calls him Clark Joseph Kent. I know who you are. And I've got your mom, right? And he's got these pictures of Martha.
Mhm.
And he tells him, hey, he's like, look, if you ever want to see her alive, bring me the head of the bat. So you're gonna go to Gotham, you're gonna fight him and you're gonna kill him for me. And you're gonna bring me his head back, and then I'll release your mother.
Mhm.
So Superman, before going to Gotham, he runs into Lois and tells her that I have to go to Gotham to convince him to help me, or he has to die. And then he goes, no one stays good in this world. And the way he does that scene, that's the weakest Superman has ever looked in any movie, anything I've ever seen. It's so weak. Like the way he says it, the way he like it's like you're Superman, dude. Like that's not the answer. You can't do that. Like you can't it's just so like, no one stays good in this world. Like
Yeah.
Superman should never say that. Like
Yeah.
it's like one of the worst line readings in the movie, and it all like I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, man, that is not Superman. Like this is just not, you know, he has the powers, he has the cape, but like he's not the guy. Like it's just
Yeah.
that's one thing about David Cornsweet. Like I think he nailed the character. I mean, say what you want to about the movie. Not everybody loved James Gunn version, but like David Cornsweet embodied the character who Superman has been for over 80 something years. Like he nailed the character. He feels like the character, like he is the bright, the shiny, like the beacon of hope. Like he's all that stuff. And whereas Henry Cavill's version just never was that. He was the opposite. He was bummed out. He was like this troubled guy, this kind of sad sack. And it's like that's not what Superman should be. And especially if you're gonna have Batman versus Superman, you need to have contrasting characters, right? You need to have, you have the light, you have the dark. You can't have the
Mhm.
dark and the less dark. You know what I mean? Like which is what we got. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know, probably some people were rooting for Batman, which Batman is kind of the villain in the movie. For a lot of the
Yeah.
movie, he's partially the villain. So
Mhm.
just I don't know. That's just something
It
that
was
always
interesting
bothered me.
choice in direction with the
Yeah.
character development. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was like I said.
And then here's also this part, right? So they decide they're going to kill Superman. Doomsday kills Superman. Okay. Well, then they show the newspaper the next day and they say, "Oh, Clark Kent also died." So
Then no one
what?
questions. Puts two and two
What?
together.
What does that tell you? So then, okay, Superman, yeah, he comes back in Justice League. We see what happens, but like, how can Clark Kent ever come back? You know what I
He
mean?
can't.
Like,
Yeah,
he
exactly.
can't. However, in Justice League, when that movie kind of ends, it ends like 10 times, but when it ends one of those 10 times, what does Superman do? He's on the street, dressed as Clark Kent, got the glasses on, rips open his shirt, and he's going to go save the day. Well, why have the costume that is Clark Kent if he died in the previous movie? Like that's just
Continuity
they just did
lacking.
not they like again, if you're building a universe, you're gonna burn Jimmy Olsen for no reason. You're gonna burn the Clark Kent character almost for no reason. you can never recover that. Like you can't
Mm-mm.
unless like he goes to another universe or he spins the world back in time or something. Like it's just like I just don't think that they thought about that kind of stuff. Honestly, I don't think they cared because
Yeah, yeah.
Clark Kent is not cool, and they were all about making something that was cool. And it's like the part about Superman that I think James Gunn really nailed was that like he is punk rock because he is not cool. Superman is not cool, and someone who's not cool actually becomes punk rock because punk rock is counterculture. It's the opposite of
Right.
what is popular, right?
Right, right, right.
That's what James Gunn absolutely nailed with his movie. And, obviously putting punk rock on it is kind of a James Gunn way of making it cool, but, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Superman is not cool. Batman is, like, every cool guy's favorite character is Batman, guaranteed. Everyone likes Batman. Not everyone likes Superman, 'cause a lot of people go, "I can't relate to Superman because he's perfect, he has all these powers, he can do whatever." But the thing about Superman is he's more of a person than all the other characters are. He's like an alien who wants to be a human more than humans wanna be humans, like,
Mhm.
I think it's just like a lack of understanding of the character that so many people have, and
Yeah,
sometimes maybe even the director had that, I'm not sure. Well,
right.
um, and then with Superman when he dies, right? At his funeral, at Clark's funeral,
Mhm.
as the movie ends, what happens?
The
The
dirt
dirt levitates
levitates.
from the casket, okay?
Mhm.
Very cool scene, the music sounds awesome, it's super cool,
Yeah.
okay? What does it mean in the next movie?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing, because he doesn't come back that way.
Doesn't come
They
back that way.
they take a mother box and bring him back to life. So, like, again, like, what was the plan? Was he gonna come back to life on his own, or was his, like, Kryptonian life force gonna bring him back? Like, again, it
It's
looks cool, but
it was almost like the Magneto scene at the end of the third X-Men movie, where Magneto's powers had been stripped from him because of that antidote or whatever you call it,
Mhm.
and he's trying to, like, move the chess piece, with his hand, and you see the chess piece kinda, like, teeter just a little bit, and then it cuts to the credits, right? Like, that's what that gave.
Yeah.
That's what that gave. But now granted, with X-Men, we never got a fourth movie to pick up from that. We got the Days of Future Past, we got, like, like, different iterations, the First Class, whatever. So it was kinda like a different universe, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
But to your point with this, it made no sense. It made no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it did not make sense. Um, and Brittany, what did you think about the nightmare future where Batman sees the vision?
I don't remember enough to, like, comment on it, honestly.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it happens, like, in the middle of the movie where Batman
Yeah, it's kinda weird.
falls asleep. He's looking at the Lex Luthor's drive where, that's how he learns about the Flash and learns about Cyborg and Aquaman, and learns about that Wonder Woman's been around for 100 years because he finds that picture of her
Mhm.
where she's,
Right, yeah.
from World War I or that era,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Well, he falls asleep, he wakes up, or, he falls asleep and he has this nightmare vision
Oh,
where,
right, Flash, yeah.
yeah, where he
Right.
wakes up and he's in this, like, post-apocalyptic world. He's got a
Mhm.
duster on, he's got a gun. He's trying to acquire, this is the injustice part of the movie where he's trying to acquire the kryptonite to kill Superman, and then Superman shows up, and Superman then, like, like, kills these guys with laser vision, with his laser eyes, and then as Batman wakes up, Superman, like, punches into his chest to rip his heart out, because he's saying,
Mhm.
like, "She was my world, Lois died, and it's your fault."
Oh, not
And then
Martha.
Batman wakes up, and then he sees the Flash, who's like, "Oh," he's like, like, "Am I too early?" You're like, "You were always right about him," talking about saying Bruce was always right about Superman and saying, like,
Mhm.
"Oh, he's Lois is the key, like, fear him, fear Superman." And then he wakes up from that vision, like,
Mhm.
it's like a dream within a dream
Yep.
kinda deal. And
Inception.
that nightmare future is continued at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which,
Mhm.
again, looks really cool. But I just wonder, like, what were they gonna do next? Because once again, you've had a movie where you fight Superman and Batman v Superman. Fine. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then in Justice League, he comes back to life. What happens? The Justice League, they fight Superman. Then he recovers his senses because Lois is there and he remembers who he is and he helps him out. He saves the day and they win and yay, they're moving on. And it's really, and I'm not making fun of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I really like that movie. I think it's a very good movie. It's a very long movie, but it's a very good movie. However, then you have this nightmare future where it's like, okay, once again, now Superman, who Batman hated, then he loved him, then he died, now he comes back. Now he's gonna work for Darkseid, who is barely in the Snyder cut.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's gonna work for Darkseid and be Darkseid's minion, and they're gonna have to fight Superman again. Like, all of these things look cool and they're cool ideas, but like they don't come together. You know what I mean? Like they just don't.
Yeah.
Which is funny because in Justice League, one of the songs has come together, which is a cover of the Beatles song "Come Together."
So. The juxtaposition on that.
It's actually a pretty good version of the song.
No, I mean just that along with what's happening. Yeah, this is where, and I'll never forgive you for making me watch the Snyder cut. This was kind of like the beginning of the end, in my opinion, for the DCEU. Am I saying that right? Because the fact that it was such like a hodgepodge of trying to make things work and forgetting, this is pulling like a David Benioff and DB Weiss, Game of Thrones things. Oh, we kind of forgot about some of these things that we had already established, and then moving on to the next installation, we just completely changed it because we forgot. It's like, come on, guys, you have one job. You have one job, and that is to continue the story.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
and if you're going to change anything, make it make sense.
Yeah, but the undoing of the DCEU really began with Batman v Superman and their reaction to it. Because if that movie would have been
the beginning of the end,
if that movie would have been a hit, and if the story would have worked out, who knows where they would be? They might still be going. I mean, honestly, I mean, they kept going until 2023, obviously. But you're right, at the end, it was kind of a grab bag of like, oh, here's Shazam, and here's the Suicide Squad, and here's
rough.
All over the place.
With the exception of the Flash. I thought the Flash was actually really well done.
We both really like it, but it's a very much hated movie. Like, more people hate the Flash than hate Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, but do they hate the Flash or do they hate the actor and the shenanigans that was going on with Ezra Miller? Right. We've also discussed that on that pod, so go check it out too.
No, we definitely have, but to me, it's like, I think the Flash is such a much better movie, but most people think that's a crazy idea because the movie obviously bombed. You're right. The whole Ezra Miller situation was obviously a problem at that point. And, I mean, to me, it's really kind of sad that the DCEU kind of ended that way.
Yeah.
Because I did enjoy many things in the universe, but I do think that like them moving to a new Superman was the right move, because I really do like the core and sweat version of the character. And I like the fact that he's playing Superman and it's this bright, hopeful character, because you know what, if you want to have the dark guy in the mask or whatever, you can have a million of those guys. That's fine. But like Superman is different. Like you need to have, it establishes, the right kind of pecking order of the characters. And they didn't do that with DC, with the DCEU. They just trying to be the coolest, they're trying to be the cool guys in the room, and pretty cool, but they didn't stay very long. So, is there anything else that you want to talk about from this movie? Any final thoughts or
none?
Is there anything from the chat you want to highlight?
Well, shout out to those in today's chat, King V Johnson, as well as Yesenia. We appreciate you both taking the time to be here. And also there was a newcomer, Justin, all the way from Wellington, New Zealand.
Wow.
I don't know how to Laha.
Yeah, or Laja, maybe.
Laja 216. Appreciate you taking time out of your day from across the world to check us out here. We really, really love it and hope that you will come back, and hopefully you've subscribed as well. So, like I said, shout out to those who have taken time out of their day to join us in today's live chat. It makes it more engaging and a lot more fun. the comments are always fun. But King B did have a question earlier. Which showdown would have been better? Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam versus Henry Cavill as Superman, or Bruce versus Clark?
So, good question. What he's referencing there is, if you remember in Black Adam, the post-credit scene of Black Adam, which was the best scene of the movie, I think a lot of people will remember, is
Didn't watch it, so I'll take your word.
when Henry Cavill returned as Superman. Very
Yes.
briefly.
Mhm.
And that was supposed to be his big return, which unfortunately that did not happen. Because DC obviously changed hands once again. James Gunn came in and he's like, "Hey, like I'm gonna reboot the universe, and that includes Superman." And so, to me, it's understandable to do that. Why
Mhm.
would you reboot with the same characters that didn't work the first time around? So
Right.
that makes sense. But the idea was that we were going to get a Black Adam versus Superman movie. I'm not sure what it's going to be called. Um, I still would rather see Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent fight, or see Batman and Superman, just because
That's cool.
they're iconic characters. Obviously, the two of the biggest. I mean, Spider-Man is the biggest comic character, the biggest character in the world, honestly. And based on Brand New Day, has already reached over 1 billion views for a trailer, the first movie trailer to ever reach 1 billion views. So that movie is
Insane.
probably going to make a ton of money this summer, and we will be talking about it for
We
sure.
will be.
But I just don't know what that Black Adam versus Superman movie would have been besides two, somewhat similar kind of, powered characters fighting. I mean, I don't know. I think that Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice is a better movie than what we could have gotten with Black Adam versus Superman.
Okay.
Your thoughts, Brittany?
I have none.
Yeah.
I have none. Didn't watch Black Adam because it just looked like it was going to be a terrible movie. But I would be very curious to see how Bruce versus Clark would have gone down.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about like Bruce Wayne versus Clark Kent, like, I mean, that's not a very good fight because,
Nah.
I mean, Clark Kent still has the powers of Superman, of Kal-El. Like,
Yeah.
unless
True.
he's depowered, then okay, maybe. But
yeah, does he hold back his punches?
probably not.
Probably not.
I do want to shout out the fact that Batman in this movie wears the armor suit, which I think the suit looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he wouldn't wear that all the time if it helps him kind of hold his own against Superman. Obviously, having kryptonite helps too, but yeah, I would have liked to see that.
I'm laughing in the chat right now. Got a very early birthday shout out, y'all. My birthday's not until the end of April.
Yeah.
Y'all are like
a
month and some change so early though. But yeah, I do appreciate it. But come back at the end of April, okay? April 28th.
Still got a month to go.
But I appreciate it. Yeah. I got a little bit more than a month to go. Yeah. But thank you.
Nice gesture. Yeah.
Yes, no, it is very much appreciated.
Yeah.
Although, Justin, there's another anniversary coming up in April, and that is this podcast anniversary.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah,
8 years, right?
It's been 84 years.
8. Yeah, we started when the first. Oh, I'm sorry. When the last season of Game of Thrones was coming together. Yeah. So.
And how disappointed we all were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can never forget that. But anyway, yeah. So if there's anything to celebrate, it is the Watcher's anniversary, which is April 12th.
I believe so. Yeah, it's coming up very soon.
Let's just say April 12th through 15th. Don't remember. It's within that realm. But yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks again. Appreciate it.
Very cool. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Another year of the Watchers in the Basement. So
yes, we are.
Please tell your family and friends about us. We appreciate any new viewers or listeners. That obviously helps us out quite a bit.
For
sure. Final thoughts on this movie. I know Brittany, you kind of shared all your thoughts. I think mine are just, I don't like to be negative about this movie. I really don't like to be negative about any of this stuff. And like I said, I do like a lot.
To be sometimes, Justin.
Yeah, but I do like more of the movie that I don't like. But
okay,
like Man of Steel, the things I don't like, I really don't like.
Mm.
And in Man of Steel, obviously the death of Jonathan Kent with the tornado to me is just unforgivable. It's so bad.
Oh,
To me, there's nothing in this movie that's as bad as that, but they're like the things I mentioned really bothered me. But however, like you may love this movie, and if you think I'm totally wrong, please let us know in the comments, let us know in the live chat. Um, Tell us what you think about this movie, or if you agree with us, like that's also fine too. So tell us,
tell
what,
Justin he's
yeah,
wrong.
right. Tell me I'm wrong.
I
That,
want to see that
that
conversation.
doesn't happen all the time. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm used to that. I'm used to being told, although I'm not usually wrong. So there's that. But no, yeah, let us know what you thought about this movie, because I'm really interested in what people think. Like to me, this was such a big movie, but like I don't know, like to me this year, it doesn't seem like as many people are kind of talking about this 10th anniversary as I thought they would. Um, I thought this was going to be a really big deal, and maybe I haven't been online a ton today because of work, but it doesn't feel like there's a huge like outpouring about this film, and maybe it's because the movie was kind of talked to death, when
Bye,
it came
Justin.
out. No, no, I talked about it at work quite a bit with people, but like
To death.
again, this is like in the realm of superhero movies. This is kind of like more of a middle of the road movie for me than it is really bad or really excellent. So,
Mm.
there's 20 Marvel movies that I think are better, but then there's about 20 Marvel movies that I think that this movie might be better than. So, like,
Well,
yeah. So, a
well,
lot of the more recent ones, I think this movie's better than several of
yeah.
those. So, but yeah, that about does it for this week's pod. Brittany, you want to tell people how they can find us and all that good stuff?
Yes, absolutely. So once again, thanks to those who have joined us in today's live chat, and to those who may not have participated in the live chat. We do appreciate you taking the time to check us out here. It's just a little podcast here that we've been doing for the last few years. We enjoy it. We hope you do as well. And to show your support, if you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. Hit that button down below. Also hit the like button. Helps out this video. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you know the next time we go live, which will probably be soon. We do have a lineup coming at you for the next couple of weeks, I want to say. Or, we've got Daredevil just dropped, or it's about to, have its full season. The Testaments is going to drop soon, along with the final season of The Boys. Guys, we've got some things we're going to be discussing, that's for sure. And
yeah, the Daredevil special also comes out in May.
That's true. Of course, Spider-Man coming up in the summer.
May, we've got a lot. It's going to be a marvelous month of May because there's
marvelous month of May. I love
we've got
that.
the 50th anniversary of the first Thor movie. We've got the 10th anniversary of Captain America: Civil War. I almost said Batman v Superman.
I know. I heard it.
Because I was thinking, because these movies are obviously intertwined in a certain way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to talk about Captain America: Civil War some more.
So we got a lot coming at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just be sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Also, check us out on all of our social media links you can find in the description box down below. And check out our audio podcasts. If you're not into video podcasts, no big deal. Thank you to everyone who's watching us here on YouTube. And if you're listening to us here as well, but our audio podcasts are available to you on Apple and Spotify and other platforms. Be sure to give us a follow and give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. Appreciate for you for joining me, because I know this is not one of your favorite movies. So, like, for you to endure this hour and a half discussion about Batman v Superman, I really do appreciate that.
Just adding it to the list of hours of things I can't ever get back.
Yeah, I can never repay you for this one. So, but I do appreciate it. So
still hate you for the Snyder cut. God.
So that about does it for this episode. I want to thank everybody for joining us. So
yep.
For Brittany, I am Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Go save Martha.